Hello, everyone. Afternoon. A very warm welcome to all of you. Hi, I am Arohi Tyagi, Associate Dean here at AAFT Online. And I, on behalf of the entire AAFT Online family, welcome you all to this exclusive session on food as medicine. And what could be more exciting than to have with us today Miss Ishi Khosla to be addressing this issue to all of us. Well, she's a renowned clinical nutritionist, entrepreneur, and author with over 30 years of experience. In 2001, she founded the Center for Dietary Counseling and launched Whole Foods, one of India's first health food companies. She also started the Celiac Society of India and created the weightmonitor.com, which is India's first fully online weight management platform. She's authored several books, including Is Wheat Killing You? That's India's first book on celiac disease, and actively promotes nutrition awareness through columns, lectures, and advisory roles with brands such as Nestle, PepsiCo, and Mother Dairy. Her work has earned her numerous accolades, including India Today's 25 Most Powerful Women, the Distinguished Alumnus Award from Lady Irwin College, and the Women's Achiever Award for her contributions in the field of nutrition. So, without further ado, let me welcome ma'am here. Hello, Ishi ma'am. How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you, Arohi, for the very kind introduction. And it's absolutely a delight to be addressing the youth of our country, which is really the future of our country. And I believe that the topic that we are talking about and we're going to address is key to the success and growth of any nation, and for the youth to be well nourished and to have the right information is critical for our country to progress in the right direction. And I think somehow, a lot has changed. While traditionally we know so much about food, there still needs to be these kind of sessions because of a complete shift in our environment, in our ecosystem. And otherwise, I think in India, being a traditionally blessed country with culture and heritage, we should not have had such conversations. We need not have had those conversations. We knew a lot, but a lot of things have changed, and I think gaps exist. So I am really happy that I will be addressing these issues in as much detail as possibly the time permits. But the purpose of this session today will be just to start looking at food and what goes into your system, a little shift in thinking about. Just I would say the purpose would be to shift in thinking about food conventionally, what you have been told, and what really should be the reality. And it's very difficult to put everything in this 40-minute session. So I will try and give you a much more like a bird's eye view on where we are today and what are the gaps and what really needs to be the road ahead. And if you have specific questions, which I think all of us do have when it comes to food and nutrition, they're very personal issues. So we would be happy to take questions after the 40 minutes. And please, that will be coordinated by Arohi ma'am. But I suggest as you go along and you have questions, please make notes of them. And if there's something which needs clarification also, please reach out. So I would now request a screen share option.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
we go?
You can screen share, ma'am. It's allowed. And to all the learners and attendees here, as ma'am said, till the time she's giving her lecture, in case you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A box, which is located right below on your screens. I'll be taking them up at the end of the session. All right. So, ma'am, it's all yours. Also, there is no option for you to unmute yourself. So the Q&A box is the only place wherein you can put in your questions. So I would request you to, do that whenever you have any question in your mind.
So, food as medicine beyond nutrition. Let me explain this title. And when we were discussing what we have to speak on, I chose this because I see this and I experience a complete the power to not only manage diseases but to treat and reverse diseases today with the current science that we have. And truly, in many cases, it works uh, more effectively than any other form of therapy. And of course, I'm talking of when I compare it with medicine in terms of the allopathy, conventional medicine. We had earlier thought and we were trained to believe that diet is an adjunct, like a complement. But today, I think diet is the thing which really makes all the difference between illness and wellness. So, therefore, the title Food as Medicine. And I will also share with you some of my case studies, maybe in the last 10 minutes, to show you that food can be medicine in its true form and goes just beyond nutrition. Now, what does this mean? It sounds like an oxymoron, but it's actually true that nutrition is only one part of our food. Food, if I break it down into nutrients, calories, proteins, fats, fiber, antioxidants, um, and phytochemicals, all of these things are one aspect of nutrition, one aspect of food, that is the nutrition. But food is, I think, the first thing, and all of you will agree that food is essentially pleasure. If nutrition comes later, we first fill our bellies in terms of managing hunger, and then it's pleasure, and we will not, one without the other really does not work very well. So it has to be pleasurable. You have to like your food. So no matter how calorifically or nutritively it is balanced, you, if you don't like it, you won't take it. So hence this relationship with food has to be first understood, that food is about pleasure, and there is no love sincerer than the love of food. So I think this, dilemma among people that, oh, when we go to a dietitian, we have to eat food which is not tasty, and we are going to be no sugar, no fat, no cholesterol, low salt. All of those conventional traps that we've had about food should be abandoned, because that is really not warranted. And food is way beyond that. Food is about our culture, about seasons, about being local, being organic. Food is about pH. Food is about enzymes. Food is about many more associations of in our lives. So, we in traditional ancient Ayurvedic texts and belief systems, food is also about individuals, about what kind of a constitution you have, personalized forms of addressing one person's food and the other person's food. Vat, Pitta, Kapha, these are the three kinds of constitutions. And also food has been categorized into, Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic kind of foods. So, these categories have been traditionally made. And I think today we are converging with the science of nutrition, which is really young, um, in with traditional facts and traditional beliefs. So today's session, we're just going to do an overview and then make you understand where we are in terms of new learnings and what the gaps have been. Um, Achieving peak performance through diet really means we getting to the solution. What do we really eat? And some key points. So I'm going to skip this slide, but yes, you must be aware of, so many trends in your lives in the first 30 years of your life. Somebody was counting calories, somebody was going on a low carb diet, going on a keto diet, somebody was on a high protein diet, and it continues to be. and somebody is on a protein binge and just counting proteins. And today that has become the uppermost narrative in people's minds. So we've been through all these, but really nothing is working. And we are still grappling with illness like at a level like never before. We are seeing terrible situations with when it comes to people's health. It's in a state of crisis. So it is very fascinating to use these words, but it also is very frustrating when results don't happen. And you're doing everything right. You're going to the gym, you're taking your supplements, you're doing everything, and yet you're not able to shed an ounce, or you're developing a fatty liver, or you have polycystic ovaries, or you're having hair loss, or you're having depression or sleep issues. And all of these today, children are connected to what is going into your mouth. And I'll explain to you how. Um, Change is really the only thing that is constant in life. And that pretty much explains why we are having sessions like this. Food, the ecosystem around us has changed. Um, what we sort of thought was right is not right anymore. Example, milk. Milk was absolutely non-negotiable when we were children. You had to protect, give a letter in our school if we were not having milk in school, because we had to have a valid reason. So it was so important. And today we say, get off dairy, get off milk, you're lactose intolerant, you're dairy intolerant. So what has happened? A lot has changed. Not only in the environment, the impact of the environment has led to a change in our internal environment. And I'll tell you how that happens. Our gut changes, our microbiome. I will talk about those issues a little bit more in detail as we go along. But all of that has in a certain way, we are losing tolerance to good foods. And one of the biggest examples with today, we are talking about gluten and food allergies. What is going on? These were all good foods. How come they become bad for us overnight? So that whole thing about change in the ecosystem, which is changing our internal systems, and that squarely explains where the need for these kind of conversations comes. And science of nutrition is really young, but our wisdom of our ancestors in our textbooks is really ancient, and we will have to also in a certain way adapt and tweak those to suit our modern environments. And
Uh,
what the,
Ma'am, just
sorry?
a request by the learners that you're a little the volume is a little low. If you could be a little louder, please.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, thank you so
Can
much.
we just, I'll just make a check on the volume. Mm.
All right, so till the time ma'am is just checking her audio, as I could see many of you were complaining for the audio. I would also request you all to please turn on the volume of your device so that you can hear her well. And And also, I would request people, please do not post your advertisements here in the chat box, as that is quite disturbing, for the guest speaker. She might be deviated by whatever you are, posting here. So just a small request to everyone who's here to not post your advertisements in the chat box. And in case you have any questions, of course, related to the topic, you can post them in the Q&A box, which is there right below on your screen. For the certificate, Shreya, at the end, I would be sharing the email ID and phone number of our team, so you can get in connect with us, and we'll share the certificate, whatever is there.
Is that okay now? Is it better, the volume?
Yes, ma'am, it's better.
Okay. Mm. Uh, should I continue?
Yes, ma'am, please.
All right. So, basically, where are the gaps and challenges? I will just explain to you that these are the gaps, and but there are other issues as well. That a nutrition science does not fully explain the um, the food in its complete form and in the way it should be understood. And secondly, that it is a science and an art, and we have to understand that we have to practice this. Just one second. I'm not able to move this. Yeah, that we have, all of us have a relationship with food, and we cannot deny that fact. So that is extremely important. However, when food has changed in a certain way, the food industry has also sort of worked towards making it more addictive and more sort of palatable in a way that additives are added. Sugar itself is an example, and some changes in the protein in wheat when it has been modified have unfortunate changes where the industry has worked towards a goal of consumption, and taste makers and flavor enhancers, all of these billions of dollars are spent today to make the food more tasty, and however also becoming more addictive. A simple example will be caffeine is added to colas for no taste but just to make it addictive. Like that, there are billions and billions of dollars making molecules which are making you feel good in your mouth and you wanting it. And you can see that difference when you make your same food or the recipes at home versus buying them from a packet or eating them in a restaurant. They taste different. And that's squarely the difference I'm talking about. So the relationship with food isn't working because of these many reasons. And this is a very nice quote by Dr. Mark Hyman, who's a gastroenterologist in the US. And he says very, very aptly that people are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which is not paying attention to food. And I think it puts it absolutely succulently. And this is the biggest gap that I am addressing. We are eating all kinds of protein powders, we are eating all kinds of artificial ingredients, just in the thing about making it more attractive. And today's protein powders are a reflection of that. Apart from that, there are many, many examples. So food is addictive, and changes in technology and agricultural practices and the food industry are compelling us to look into what is going into our bodies, because these changes are becoming fairly destructive to one and all in our urban scenario. Unfortunately, this is more of an urban issue, but it is trickling into our rural areas as well. I think the latest example I would give you is vegan meat. And since you are all from the, media background, and you will be in some form or the other connected with it, you remember there was a film that came in, The Game Changer, where 3 or 4 years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago, everyone was talking about becoming vegan and vegetarian after seeing that film and how compelling that evidence was. And side by side, there was, again, billions of dollars spent on this vegan meat, which is an artificial form of, making meat to look like from plant sources and ingredients to resemble meat. And these mock meats and lab-grown meats are being promoted in a very big way. So these trends are happening, and there are several examples. I won't give you more examples, but this is the current one which I find the most obvious and relatable. We've already spoken about this. And, this whole thing I told you about counting calories is not adding up. We have so many apps today. We have so many tools to count calories, yet these people who are doing that and burning what you're burning also is being tracked through, your trackers on your gym machines and other devices, but it is not adding up. We are not making obesity is growing. And I have patients who are doing all of that, eating 800 calories, burning, more calories, on, 400 calories in a calorie deficit, yet not losing weight and gaining weight. So, but the good news is that we have answers, and we have, the tools to fix it now. Um,
Ma'am,
so
your slides are not changing.
they're
Are you
not
changing slides?
uh, in my laptop they are changing.
Okay, so we are stuck at gaps and challenges slide.
Oh, really? Oh, wonder why. Just give me a second. Which slide are you on now?
The oversimplified nutrition
Ah,
facts.
okay. I'll just go.
Yeah, it's changing. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I've already covered these. So I will just go over these. I've already spoken about our fractured relationship with food. We're always fighting with our willpower. Should I eat this? Should I not eat this? And, this, of course, I've already spoken. Um, People are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. And that's a fact. This approach has made us, we are getting ingredients and additives into our food without our realizing it. So I always say it's not our fault. It's the food which is making us like that. And the food is being designed to be addictive, and changes in agricultural practices and food industry are, compelling us to rethink about what's going into our bodies and having conversations like these. And I was here talking about calorie in and calorie out equation, and it is what we were taught in textbooks, that if you have a calorie deficit, intake and output, and you will lose weight, and if you have a plus, then you will gain weight. And we see both the spectrums. People who are trying to gain weight are not being able to do that, and people who are losing, in calorie negative calorie balance, are not losing weight. And like I said, we fortunately have the answers. And all of these changes in our, in ecosystem today are resulting in very unfortunate sort of health situations, and particularly disturbing are when they are happening to youngsters, to young children. And this is a projection by a Yale public health expert. According to those projections, they say children today will die younger than their parents, something which has never ever happened in the evolutionary history of mankind. Every generation has outlived its parents. So something really big has happened in our context, which is resulting in something as grave as this. And it's a wake up call. We are also seeing adult diseases in childhood, the number of type 2 diabetics in childhood. We are seeing, acne in adults, the reverse, childhood diseases in conditions in adults. And we are seeing congenital thyroids, congenital diabetes, premature cataracts. The examples can go on and on. This is a very, very jaw-dropping sort of statistic where, you can relate the last 20 years. All of us have, are in that time where we can go back 20 years. And 20 years ago, the, the figures for autism were 1 in 10,000, which is a very rare condition. And today it sits at 159. This actually has moved to 149, the latest figures, and it is going down. even more dramatically year after year. What's going on? Something terribly has changed in our ecosystem, that we are, instead of getting better with in the backdrop of so much more information today, so much more knowledge about nutrition, that this does not fit in and it should not have happened. And cancer, of course, we are seeing 1 in 3, 1 in 2 in the US, and this is pretty, correlated to what is happening in India. Alzheimer's, premature in the 60s is being seen, and I think all of us have people in our households who have either cancer or Alzheimer's or one of these kind of diseases. Autoimmune was really unheard of a few years ago, and now it's like in numbers, and it's becoming the number 3 cause of death in the US. So hypothyroidism, PCOS, I'm sure many of you in the audience would be having this condition or know your friends who have it, 1 in 4. And these were unheard of even when I was practicing in 30 years ago. We just had one odd case of an obese girl who had PCOS. Today, whether it is lean or medium frame or obese, it is affecting everybody. Malnutrition and stunting are again looking and staring at us in the face. In the when we have food surplus, we really have so much food that we can feed everybody, yet we have the worst statistics when it comes to malnutrition and stunting. I think 30% of our kids under the age of 5 are stunted. So you can imagine their nutritional status and how grave this condition is. And so the examples can go on and on. Allergies have gone up, food sensitivities have gone up, deficiencies, and like I just said, malnutrition, it includes deficiencies, vitamin B12, D, calcium, magnesium, and anemia. And sadly, the number of crores of rupees that have been sent in anemia prevention programs by the government have yielded zero result. In fact, there is a slight increase. 50 to 70% of women and children in India continue to remain anemic, and you can imagine the impact in our future generations this can have. So I'm going to skip this slide. And really, the pandemic has not helped. It has put the spotlight on nutrition, which is a good thing. People are now more interested in this space and wanting to do more and more as against pre-pandemic. The indifference to food and approach to food has changed. And I think that's a good thing, but it has taken a toll on our immune system and on our overall health. And we are seeing today how youngsters are literally, some of them under 30s, are just, we get bad news almost every other day. So somewhere we need to rewire our food and nutrition. Food is not nutrition, and want to kind of rewire this in our heads. And what is it that I'm saying here? We need to understand our gut and how it connects with our diseases. And an integrated approach is more important today than an organ-specific one. And as you go along, will become clearer and clearer. All diseases begin in the gut was something which was said 2,500 years ago by the father of modern medicine, Hippocrates. And he couldn't have been more right. But I think modern medicine took us away from this sort of thinking, and became very organ specific and lost the connection with the gut. However, the good news is that researchers and modern science has caught up to this fact. And there is this Dr. Alicio Fasano, who's the director of pediatric gastroenterology at the Massachusetts General Hospital for Children in Boston. And he has said that over 300 health conditions are linked to a leaky gut. And the cause for the leaky gut is modern wheat. So that's a very big statement. It has been published in a very prestigious journal. And what are these 300 conditions? These include right from obesity, diabetes, hypertension, to autoimmunity, to the big C, and reproductive diseases and mental health diseases. So this is where it really completely comes a full circle with what Hippocrates said 2,500 years ago. And Dr. Alicio Fasano was in line for the Nobel Prize 2 years ago. So, so it's not only what you eat, but what you digest, because it has a lot to do with your gut. I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes explaining this to you and then move to the my case studies. So this gut issue, we've always looked at the gut as an organ of digestion where food is digested and assimilated. And it starts in the mouth. But today, the gut has a much far-reaching function that we have understood, which impacts almost every aspect of our life. Every cell and tissue, whether it's on your head, on your scalp, or your hair, to the toenail, to your heart and your vital organs, to your behavior, to your mood, and to your sleep. Everything, every breath is connected to what is happening in the gut. And that is what squarely this session is going to put a spotlight on. And the gut actually is made up of single cells, which are tight junctions. If you can see this slide, can you see this slide clearly? All of you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thanks. So on the left is the tight junction where the cells are packed very closely and there are no gaps. And on the right side, there are gaps, and these are what we call leaks. And these leaks are the ones which are what we call intestinal permeability or leaky gut. And these are allowing the passage of partially digested food, which is not food, which is not fully broken down, to enter your bloodstream. It is also allowing microorganisms and toxic and unwanted particles to get into the bloodstream because of these leaks. Now, what happens? Why gluten is becoming a problem? Why milk is becoming a problem? Because gluten and milk proteins are large and they are difficult for any human being to digest fully. And for people who have problems, who are sensitive, they become very, very difficult. And as partially digested proteins, gluten gets into the bloodstream because of a leaky gut. And that causes a reaction by the immune system, like our defense, like our army. It's like Pakistan border, India border, and infiltration of the enemy into India will cause the defense and the army to wake up. And that's what happens. These are not normal. They are supposed to be attacked so that you can be saved. And therefore it fires the missiles. Now, what are these missiles? Antibodies. So these antibodies then stay in our bloodstream to then reach different tissues and damage them and different organs, depending on your genetic vulnerability. So these organs, and then this fire, this word is called inflammation. There's heat. When there is crossfire between the enemy and the host, there is going to be heat production. And that word that you must go back with after this session is inflammation. And inflammation, the starting point of all diseases. So every disease, whether it is obesity, whether it is diabetes, whether it is cancer or mental health, begins with inflammation. So you can understand the link between your gut lining being leaky and how it relates to disease. And this is very, very critical for understanding how you're going to treat and manage or prevent diseases in the future. And, this is a conversation today. And, there are so many researches in the last 15, 20 years linking heart disease, linking literally everything with the gut lining. Now, how does this happen? All of this happens with some live organisms which are sitting in your gut. These organisms are the ones which are affecting your gut lining. They are like, we all know viruses, we all know, microorganisms. With COVID, everyone understands a virus, understands a bacteria, understands your microorganisms, viruses, bacteria, and fungi, yeast. They are invisible to the naked eye, and they are sitting in our gut in a certain balance. They are good for us. Have you heard of probiotics? Everyone today knows probiotics. Now, why pro means good and bio means life, good for life. These organisms, when they are in good numbers and they are friendly, they are good for us and they work for us. And when they become disturbed, when they are it's a state where we call dysbiosis, that when the bad ones outnumber the good ones is when we have problems. And what comes in contact with these microorganisms is our food. So we have to be very careful about what goes into our mouth, because if we disturb them, if we eat bad food, what is bad food? Processed food, food which is too much, high in sugar, which is maybe gluten, which is not being digested. Modern wheat is not being digested fully. Food or antibiotics or other chemical based food that we have, the pesticides and the additives we spoke about, the fake food we talked about, all of those will disturb negatively our gut microbiome balance. There are more bacteria and more microorganisms than human cells. That is where it is. And each one of these bacterial cells has its own genes, and they interact with each other, with the host genes, and play literally what we call an orchestra, and determine our health or our wellness versus ill health and being sick, who we are. So we have a tool today to work with which we never knew earlier. And these are trillions of microorganisms. And together now they are being looked at upon as a organ in itself. So these microorganisms are maximum in the gut, but they are all over our body, on our skin, on our toenails, on our hair, everywhere we will have microorganisms. Our body fluids are not sterile. So the mother's amniotic fluid has microorganisms. So we have the science of microbes is really going to be the biggest thing that's going to change the way we live and how we manage our health. So please, this is critical information. And this was the title of my book, The 4G Code to Good Health, which connected gut, gluten, glucose, and girth. And I'm not going to be able to explain too much right now on this, but do pick up a copy of the book. The two critical parts of your body today are your gut and your girth. And girth means the circumference of your abdomen. And the two drivers of these are your food in your brains and gluten and too much of sugar. The government has cracked down on sugars in its own way, very aggressively and very rightly, and all of us need to be listening. This I just spoke to you about. Dysbiosis is a unbalanced gut microbiome, and there are many causes for this. Like I said, eating wrong food, even too much of alcohol, too much of medication, stress, and now even vaccinations disturb the microbiome. So they have to be dealt with very carefully. Vaccines are important, but sometimes they can go the other way. And of course, all the food sensitivities I spoke about, and age itself also causes dysbiosis and leaky gut on its own. We know our skin when we go, in our elderly years, it becomes thinner and thinner. So like that, our gut lining also changes with age. So I think what are the specific foods which are dietary factors which are causing dysbiosis? Too much of food in itself, high glycemic carbohydrates, that means too many sugars and starches, breads, and too many, just too many calories coming from, the carbs. Bad fats, hydrogenated fats, the fats which are found in bakery and biscuits commercially prepared, processed foods, red meats, French fries, and basically reused oil outside. They're okay at home. And when you have low levels of antioxidants, bad food will give you low phytochemicals, which are the protective ones, low fiber, and low intake of the protective good fats like the omega-3 fats. And of course, nutritional deficiencies also play a role. So this is just a slide to tell you that we are all, in some way dealing with our weight problems. And again, the gut is where we can control our appetites. There are almost 8 appetite controlling hormones which are secreted in the gut lining by the gut microbiome. So the gut microbiome, when I use that word, I hope you're understanding it. And these, therefore, if you treat them well, if you have a healthy gut, you can also deal with obesity. And this explains why despite calorie counting, we are not able to manage our weight because these microbes which are controlling our hormones are not in sync. So when you come to immunity, today again we are talking about a COVID comeback in its, in its own way, in a small way. So where can we prevent it? How can we prevent it? Is by working on the gut microbiome, because the immunity, two-thirds, more than two-thirds of the immune system is in the digestion, in the digestive system. And therefore, this is a very, very important way to deal with your immunity, and people are today really compromised here because of the vaccinations and the COVID treatments and etc etc. So again, we talked about gut lining being important for digestion. So absorption of nutrients is also very, very critical. So if there is a problem there, the gut microbiome will not pick up or make the nutrients which it is supposed to make. It is supposed to make vitamin B12, it is supposed to make vitamin K, and it is also has a role in vitamin D, and so on and so forth. And it's also important in iron absorption. So we will have malabsorption. And today we see, and in my patients, I see really obese patients having the worst kind of nutritional status, whatever we check for, critically low levels of B12, D, iron, etc., etc. So this obviously means that their gut lining is impaired because of a dysbiosis, and that is because of wrong food, and that is causing these deficiencies. And when I talk about the girth, this is where it's important for you to understand that the girth can also be inflammatory. When I said about the girth and the intestinal lining being disturbed, and the inflammation that comes after this crossfire, that inflammation can also be reflected in the girth. So if you have a lean body and you still have a belly fat, that means you have inflammation. I think we need to put this. Just one second. So that therefore a measure of your girth is important. It should be less than 80 centimeters for women and less than 90 centimeters for men. This is a rough yardstick, so please be very mindful of this aspect. It's a tool for you to know how healthy your body is, and it is also correlated with what we call visceral fat, fat on the liver, fat on the organs, and that itself increases the risk to many, many chronic diseases, as is mentioned in this slide. So coming back to what is causing inflammation, I have spoken to you about food being in touch, the wrong food being in touch with our microbes. So this is a statement of real value, that the largest cause of internal inflammation is the food we eat. This is Dr. Phil. And among those inflammatory foods, I will not be able to talk to you in detail about any of them. But like I said, too much sugar, high GI foods, and certain proteins in milk and gluten today, and so toxic fats, reused oils, and such unhealthy fats. So what has led to, like I said, the spectrum of now modern wheat changing has become sort of causing a sort of dysbiosis in our systems, causing the leaky gut. And there is not too much time to address this, but it is what we call right from wheat allergy to celiac disease to non-celiac wheat sensitivity to ATIs. Now, these are very technical. I'm not going to go into details. But what are the common signs of a leaky gut or a wheat sensitivity? Recurrent digestive complaints, constipation, heartburn. I believe in India, the largest sold medicine is antacids. So, which was never ever the case a few years ago. So we are all, just downing antacids, but not trying to find the root cause for this kind of need. Why do you have acidity and heartburn and reflux? Milk intolerance, like I said, we are losing tolerance to a lot of good food. Liver dysfunction, not being hungry or being too hungry, mouth ulcers, not growing, like I said, stunting, difficulty in losing and gaining weight, nail issues, bruising, anemia, headaches, joint pains, fractures, frequent injuries, infertility, recurrent, not infertility, not being able to conceive is a very common problem today. And we are able to deal with it just by gut. Just by working on the gut, we get, results. And miscarriages frequently, giddiness, imbalance, vertigo, epilepsy, numbness and tingling sensations, depression, anxiety, poor attention span. We are seeing ADD, ADHD, rashes, urticaria, eczema, psoriasis, and autoimmunity. So you can see the entire spectrum is so we need to have customized diets today. One size fit all does not work, and we need to make tests for food sensitivities, assess nutritional assessments, and work on rebuilding our disturbed gut flora. Today, all of us have had disturbance in our gut flora. To address prebiotics, which are food for the good microbes, like starches, and today we have supplements also in, fibers. Certain kind of fibers are food for the good bacteria. And of course, simply just taking probiotics under supervision is a great idea. Now, this part I will have to skip because we have very little time. But like I said, time, yes, is important, and food timing. What really matters, I would just put it in a line, is what you eat and how much you eat and when you eat it and how you eat it. Timing is also very, very important. It has been overlooked for too long, but it is important. So all of these things need to be addressed, and what you do not eat and what you digest are equally important today to determine your health. And we will skip these slides and move on to my case studies. Ma'am, do I have, how much time do I have?
Yes, ma'am, we have 5 to 10 minutes. We can continue.
All right. So this, I will just conclude with what our approach should be to manage our health. The diet is, it's not like a keto diet or a fasting diet. And incidentally, fasting also helps in rebuilding our gut. So which is why it's becoming very popular now. So we have to address nutritional supplements, but don't go on to all of this on your own because you can make a mess and go horribly wrong. So please do it under supervision. Address B vitamin supplements, C, vitamin D, K2, and zinc, omega-3 fats, and magnesium. For all of these, all of the audience, listening audience, please, magnesium is critical for all of us. Please ensure that you take a magnesium supplement and do not go to a lab to test it, because you will never get the right values. So we all need magnesium, that's a given, and it needs to be taken with a certain dose of calcium so that it is absorbed fully. So please address it. Is important for heart function. It is extremely important for sports people and those who sweat also. And of course, those who've been on medicines. And I mean, it has 300 functions really. And address probiotics, prebiotics, and fermented foods also give you benefits for the growth of good bacteria. And healthy fats and useful herbs are, very anti-inflammatory. We know how haldi, turmeric, has come onto the table as a as a superfood and a very powerful anti-inflammatory food. And we have others like ginger, giloy, and neem leaves and all that. There's a treasure, so I won't go into all this. Good hydration, and vitamin D is also critical. I see a lot of people taking it now. Good fats are powerful. Why I'm talking about the omega-3 fats is because I spoke about inflammation, and omega-3 fats are one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory foods that we have. And fish oils are among topping the list in terms of its concentration and quality. Then we have flax seeds and chia seeds, mustard seeds, sesame seeds, green leafy vegetables, and certain rajma dals and lodias and methi seeds as well. And just one slide here to talk about early life nutrition. Whatever we are speaking today is critical not only for us, but our future generations, because today we are making antibodies. Modern wheat is immunogenic. Every mother is making antibodies against modern wheat, and this is going to the baby through the placenta even before the baby is born. And that squarely explains why, how rapidly early onset of diseases is happening. So please be very careful. All of you who are going to get into the space of reproduction must be very mindful about what you eat during your pregnancy and before the pregnancy also. So I would just end with the grain change with a happy gut could very well be the game changer. And I'm going to skip this slide and just come up with a few interesting case studies. Maybe we can skip this one. She was, okay, this man reversed his diabetes. He had a HbA1c of 10. If you know what that means, it should be less than 6, 5.8, maximum 5.9. And he was diagnosed, he's not obese. He was diagnosed with a HbA1c of 10. And he was told that all his life he'll be on medication. And within 3 months, he had reversed his diabetes. He had an HbA1c of 5.7. And the doctor continued to give him medicine till it became 4.7, and then finally he stopped it. And he was surprised that, how come something which was going to be lifelong in a matter of 4 to 5 months has been reversed. It's been 3 years, and this gentleman continues to be non-diabetic and free of his fatty liver. All we did was we managed his gut and the right choice of grains. This lady was on 5 antacids on a daily, 5 combination of antacids daily, 4 antacids daily, and she used to be miserable even though she was taking these antacids. And literally with the change in grain, all of that sorted, as well as her polycystic ovaries and fatty liver normalized in short spans of time. Now this girl has been there coming to me for the last 1.5 years, and she was literally a cripple with joint pains, and she was told that again she will be on lifelong medication of what we call immunosuppressants for joint pains, and she was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylosis. She was flown back from London. She was studying there. No, she was working there. She went there to study, and when this happened, she was absolutely devastated because she couldn't even walk, and she was flown. She came in a wheelchair and she was put on drugs, yet her pain did not go. When she came to me, within 10 days of a change in diet, her pain started improving to a point that within a month, she was pain free, and within 3 months, she was off all medication. And today, she still comes free of medication and free of pain. And if she eats anything which is off the charts, she gets her pain back and it relapses. So we have very good evidence of managing autoimmune conditions through diet, managing diabetes through diet, and the entire spectrum. Now, this young girl was all of 9 years when she was battling for 5 years. That means when she was 4 years old, she had severe constipation, and she had been through doctor to doctor to doctor who were only looking at laxatives for her treatment. And the day she came to me, within a week, her constipation was sorted, and it's been a year and a half. She's absolutely fine. Now, obviously, why should a girl like her with good diet be constipated? The answers lie in the dysbiosis, or a disturbed gut microbiome, which is causing her gut function to change. Similar case, I won't go into this. This is a very interesting case where this man on the left, he was fully white when he came. He was 36 years old. He came to me for weight loss because he was obese. He had a bunch of tests, and whatever I saw, I ordered some more tests. And he started my diet when we changed his flour to for weight loss. In that time, we were not looking at anything else. And we just made it a different grain for weight loss. And this man had this white condition that we call it vitiligo since when he was 4 years of age. And his father had been through all kinds of treatments, Ayurveda, homeopathy, allopathy, and never ever spotted. And he just, came to terms with this condition and that he's going to be white, and that is what it was. But as he started my diet, within 3 weeks, when I saw his reports, I said, look, I think you have a autoimmune condition, and your problem of vitiligo must be because of the grain that you're eating. So he sat back and he said, ma'am, I can't understand. Ever since I've been on the diet, I'm spotting. I've got white spots on my arms. And literally within 6 weeks to 2 months, he had spots on his face. You can see on the right side, they were brown spots, very visible. And I was also amazed. I took some pictures, and he continued the diet in 3 months, and he was really getting pigment all over his body. And all we had done was change his brain. Now, when he was looking like this, his wife objected and said, I don't like the look right now. So can you go back to your old diet? And so he did. And what did we expect? Lo and behold, the brown pigment just vanished. In a matter of a month, he became white all over again. So these are very compelling stories and case studies which I see every day in hundreds of patients, be it migraine, be it anything else, miscarriages. I will not want to go into too much of detail, but this lady was 43 when she conceived. We put her off wheat and some grains, and we gave her gut support and some supplements. But she did not want iron because she had, her successful IVF happened after the fourth time. She came at the fourth attempt. And I said, if you don't stop it, you will still have a failed IVF. And she actually, in 3 months, she tried, and it was successful. So she realized there was something to do with the diet. And she had a hemoglobin of 8 or 9 throughout her life. And she told me, I'm not going to take iron because it makes me very sick. Iron supplements I cannot tolerate. I said, don't worry, you follow the diet. Let's see what happens. She had conceived twins. And on the, checking of her blood work on the third trimester, carrying twins, her hemoglobin was 12.3, which was never ever so high in her life. Even the gynecologist was shocked. And she said, no iron supplement. How did this ever happen? So we have very, very interesting cases. We can go on and on, but I think what I'm going to stop now is with this one line that the road to good health is paved with an anti-inflammatory diet and a healthy gut. And, our traditional sayings, we all have heard of this old adage which says, Jaisa an vaisa man. So I think that is really where it all starts and gives us answers. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope I have been able to share some interesting or some new concepts about food, and happy to have questions from all of you.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think the case studies were mind-blowing, and they have reiterated the fact that, the belief in diet stays strong. So if we focus on what we eat, we can actually tackle so many issues, like you told. So before we move on to the Q&A, just a little, reminder to all the attendees who are here that we at AAFT, we do have an online diploma program in nutrition and dietetics. This is a one-year diploma program wherein you would be learning all about food science, physiology, biochemistry, diet planning, and therapeutic diet as well. Also, I'm happy to share with you that Ms. Ishi Khosla is associated with us as the industry dean of our School of Health and Wellness. So she would be actively involved in delivering many guest lectures also to the students who are, enrolled with us. In case you have any questions, anything you want to know about our course curriculum or our brochure, you can drop in a message or an email to us on these numbers and this email ID, and we'll be happy to help you with your queries. So, ma'am, we have many questions. I'll take up a few of them which are relevant to the topic. And the first question is that are there any particular tests which help us know that our gut is leaky or there is dysbiosis?
Yes, that's a great question. And there are uh, tests which are sort of what we call the food intolerance test, the IgG test. But these tests again require some sort of guidance. You cannot just go to the lab and get it done and then interpret them on your own because they can be overwhelming. They need to be sort of correlated clinically with an expert. And we do have very good tests for celiac disease. If you have the same symptoms, they are the same symptoms for celiac or non-celiac. So those are fairly accurate, and but go under a proper professional before you get them done. And today we have a new test which Dr. Dang's lab is doing. I don't know any other lab doing it, which is called the gut barrier test, gut barrier panel, GBP, which is testing specifically for zonulin, occludin, candida, and LPS. These are tests for the leaky gut. Very
Right.
specific.
Right. That was very informative. Thank you,
But
ma'am.
but don't go for a food allergy test. We haven't spoken about this. Is very different. Very often people make that mistake.
Yeah, absolutely right. Okay, we have another question here, and I think this is related to the uh, Anvesha is asking, does the vegan meat and organic or natural meat nutritionally the same?
Organic and natural meat are not
With the
the same.
vegan, yeah,
Not, no, no, not at all. I mean, they are different. They may be having protein contents which are comparable, but like I said, the story goes beyond that, and it usually has additives and soya and gluten to make it taste the way it does, and they are highly pro-inflammatory ingredients, and meat is not, unless you take it in a processed form.
right, ma'am. Also, ma'am, Anjali is asking that how do we know that which grains are not good for us?
Um, I think what I would say is that we are talking about pro-inflammatory grains. It is a, I think what we can do is the two things. One, of course, we can test. The other is we can do what we call an elimination protocol. So if you suspect that you are reacting to certain grains, you put them out for about 2 weeks. Keep your diet free of those. And with wheat elimination, we also see some cross-reactive grains. So you're trying to eliminate wheat, also do corn and soya and oats, and see how your body is reacting. Make a food journal and see how if you have those symptoms, or watch your weight, or see whatever your pain points are, and journal them, and reintroduce it back. So if there's a difference, that just tells you that you are reacting to that.
Right, ma'am. Minakshi is asking that, you discussed about the processed foods and the negative impact it has on our gut. But what about the chemical infused fruits and vegetables which are available these days in the market? How do we stay away from them?
They are also adding to the load, absolutely. So eat seasonal, eat local, eat as far as possible organic or near organic to keep that load away. And then at homes, you can use the ozonizer to reduce the surface chemicals on food, which also helps to some extent.
Right, ma'am. Also, Ruchita and many more are asking about, are there any special home remedies which one can look for, maybe empowering the gut or making our gut a little better?
Yes, of course they are, but I'm going to go back to the previous question, and it is very tempting for me to say this to this audience, that how do you protect yourself is also not at an individual level, but at an larger nationwide or a global level. Is to create awareness, and the only way to create awareness is through media and to make compelling films around these issues, so that we have Tare Zameen Par with Amir Khan, who brought the spotlight on something which was hidden and so rampant, and people did not know anything about it. So I think to protect ourselves, we need to get our voices heard at a different level, not only just manage yourself. So
Yes, and ma'am, so certain home remedies, if you could
yeah,
suggest.
well, home remedies are typically fermented foods. You can have your pickles, and you can have your, dahi in case that suits you. And if you're dairy tolerant, and taking things like the gum that is used for um, certain kinds of laddus, and in summers you have the other kind of bone that also helps. Bone broth also helps, and taking adequate or therapeutic doses of vitamin C and magnesium and vitamin D. They are not exactly home remedies, but they are also important. And if you do one without the other, you won't get the full benefit. And of course, elimination of the modifying the grain, that is very important. So,
Yes.
ambli and rice congee, things which are not there, I mean, which were there and not a part of our recent, years of living, that they were traditionally had in, Bund laddu was eaten as a routine in winters. And in summers, in many states, it was the rice, fermented rice, which was a part of the system. They were just there. They used to have it. They still have it for breakfast. So we need to revive those things.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you, ma'am. Zenat is asking that you were saying that the gut also becomes thinner as we age. Is there any particular age when this starts happening, or should we take care? When should we start taking care of this?
Well, leaky gut, like I said, today for no fault of ours is happening at a young age, very before the baby is born. We are sending antibodies to the baby, and that we see those things happening, food allergies and things very early. So it's happening with not with the age anymore. It's aggravated with the aunts, the grandparents, etc. are definitely having it. But it's like your skin on the skin, or no, on your face. The UV light is affecting everybody today, and with age it becomes much more. So yes.
Yes. And the last question, how can we reduce CRP levels in the blood?
Exactly everything that we have spoken about. CRP is a measure of inflammation, and really it does not measure low grade inflammation. And as a practitioner, I can tell you, I never saw elevated CRPs in the numbers that I see them after the pandemic. So something has changed drastically after that in our gut microbiome. And we know that one of the biggest, um, you know, changes of the gut microbiome is our vaccine and the virus itself. So we had to do diets. If we had to take the vaccine, we had to do special diets to protect ourselves. High doses of vitamin C and gut friendly diet should have been there. Having said that, um, to make to bring down your CRP, you need to work with a professional. You need to do elimination. You need to rebuild your gut lining and your gut flora and restore the nutritional status. So it's not just one magic thing that will make it happen. But
Right.
diet is the only way you can do it unless you are going to be on steroids, which are going to cause problems.
Right, right. And another one thing, ma'am, that when you say that stay away from wheat because it has changed, but there are traditional thoughts that we've been brought up eating wheat the entire life. So how can we just move away from it? I
So
mean,
I am
how
not
do you
saying I'm
explain?
not saying everybody needs to go off wheat, but I'm bringing this concept for you to understand that, like I said, these were healthy foods, and for thousands and thousands of years, it has fed people. So before I shouldn't forget, on Spotify, me on YouTube, listen to my last podcast on microbes. It's addressing all these issues. It's a 20-minute podcast. So yes, so wheat has fed people. So it is counterintuitive to say that it is not to be had, to anybody. So it's a very logical and a question which must be asked. But yes, because of our, the multiple reasons actually, you must also read my book, The 4G Code to Good Health. The 4Gs I spoke about, it's by Penguin, and it is in depth answering these questions. But essentially, the wheat, which is in the modern scenario, is far more immunogenic. We tempered with an allergen. Wheat is known to be an allergen to some people. And we tempered with an allergen, not knowing without any safety studies what it was going to do to us. And it was too early to introduce it into our systems. And that is the reason why it's not what our ancestors ate. And also, please understand, your ancestors never suffered the problems that our generation is suffering. So we need to take cognizance both ways. Neither are we the same as our ancestors. Our health is way below them. And I told you about life expectancy, and our ancestors outlived every generation. So today we are seeing a very important shift in things. Uh, be it our food and the impact of it on our health. So but we can't compare apples and oranges. They are completely different things. So we are not saying don't have wheat, but if you want to protect yourself from inflammation, this offers you one of the most powerful tools among others. But don't think that you go gluten free or you become wheat free and it's going to change. There are many steps to it, and also there are many other grains which need to be addressed. And uh, also, don't forget that you need to bring down the level of carbohydrates in your diet. That's why the glucose word is in the 4Gs. The carbohydrates are sources of sugar, glucose. So glucose coming, whether it's from sweets or sugars, or whether it is coming from fruits, or whether it is coming from grains, too much of carb will also cause inflammation. So just going gluten-free can be a problem. So you need to put it in perspective. Yeah, I hope I've answered that question.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. And it was an eye opener. So, before we end the session, a quick reminder to all of you in case you plan to join our online diploma program, here are the details. You can drop in a message or drop in a mail to these, numbers and email ID. And, our team will get in touch with you, sharing all the details of the entire syllabus and everything with all of you. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session and a very insightful one also for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And somebody is wanting to know the podcast details, I'll have my office be in touch with you. They can share the details and the link.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone, for
guys. Thank
joining
you for
in.
listening in, and feel free to reach out if you have more queries.
Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye.